us tonight. Jared, you kind of set this up, so you want to kind of lead into it, or just let him go ahead and start?
Yeah, I think this sort of is coming from the discussion about what to do with the folks on the lower end of town in the Botetourt portion that are connected to Iron Gate's sewer system, and the discussion about taking over the pump station versus just putting a meter on and billing those customers for the usage that's coming through the sewer line. The Western Virginia Water Authority has proposed basically giving the infrastructure to the town along with a payment to defer any potential maintenance costs. So we just invited them down to give a presentation. Because at the last meeting there was discussion that ultimately the issue would be to just not take the equipment, not take the assets, just build the town. And I wasn't in a position to answer technical questions about whether or not that was a good idea. So I thought we'd bring in an expert who could actually describe the situation on the ground a lot better than I can.
And with that, we'll turn the floor over to you.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you for the invitation. My name is Shirley. I'm the Director of Wastewater Operations for the Water Authority. I've got a presentation, however, realizing that it may be difficult, I've got a couple of extras may be useful in the walk through. As Mr. Jenkins mentioned, and I appreciate the opportunity to work with him earlier, we have the unique situation of having approximately 25 customers that have historically been tied into the town system. One of the interests of the authority, we're always interested in best service to our customers. Right now, these customers, I believe you're aware, from a water standpoint, it's our understanding that water is sold to a third-party company, a private company, who then conducts water sales to these customers. We provide sewer service, so we have a set of customers that are receiving bills from two entities, one private water company, I believe Petrus Environmental, then also receiving a sewer bill from the Water Authority. Then of course, the historic agreement with Botetourt is a little different in that it's more of a retail rate. That's typically with our agreements with jurisdictions, it's more of a wholesale rate. Although in this case, it kind of made sense with years ago why that likely happened. The Water Authority, from the sewer standpoint, the sewer, if you look on the drawing, the light green lines are gravity sewer. Those are PVC lines. And so those lines actually feed back to the point that you see listed as lift station, that's LS. The lift station in question is a very small lift station. It's basically just because we could not obtain fall for this section of the system into the town system. So the lift station basically lifts the wastewater, pumps it back. So the dark green line is actually the force main that then comes over, and as you can see, the connections primarily is extremely close to the old, what I understand was the old town wastewater treatment facility. So the lift station, I understand there may have been some questions on the station. The station was rebuilt. It used to be flight pumps. It's hydromatic pumps. I asked and double checked with our staff. Paul Perry was the utility manager for Botetourt County for a number of years, so Paul has a long history with this. He now works for me. And basically, other than just basic checks, we've not done anything on the lift station. The lift station is relatively maintenance free. I understand there may have been a question about certifications required for the town to be able to have the lift station as an asset. There are no requirements in the Commonwealth for a licensed operator for a lift station. That's considered part of the conveyance system for wastewater. Wastewater licenses are required on the wastewater side, sewer side, only for treatment. A little different on the water side. Water side, when you do have a distribution operator license in the Commonwealth, but we do not have that for wastewater operators. So this system can be operated without a license. Good news, as I mentioned, it's a relatively simple system. It's gravity sewers, which the town already maintains, has experience with. We have televised the system, so we would be happy to make that available to the town to better understand the asset. We have expertise in-house, so we're pretty used to looking at those. We'd be happy to bring up our folks and go through the footage if anybody, if a subset or any town employees wanted to look at that. On the lift station itself, we actually have spare pumps in stock. So that's a normal process for the water authority. Is we all deal with it when things break. We don't have time to order it, to wait for it to be received. So actually we keep a couple hydromatic pumps in stock. We'd be willing to discuss as part of the broader agreement whether we hold those pumps because we have warehousing, and then if the town ever experiences a problem, that we'd come replace those pumps, show the town employees how to do it. It's relatively easy, shallow lift station. And again, our interest is what we would like to see are these customers be served by one utility provider. So while we can discuss the sewer side, we would hope that there's the ability to have a broader discussion also with the customers impacted about migration to the town. We think that generally from our experience, we're a government agency. We think that municipalities, we're built pretty well to take care of our customers and serve citizens. So we would hope that that's a betterment for the customers, is to be able to have one common utility provider for both sides. I know that's a different issue, but that's where our interest is in this circumstance. We feel like this is on the periphery of the system. So obviously this is we do have assets stationed in Botetourt County, an operating group in Botetourt, but it still takes us out beyond our furthest asset, which has been Glen Wilton Wastewater Treatment Plant. So in the event, it's kind of another discussion point is for us, obviously there's the opportunity to discuss deal with the town if we can't work out anything with the infrastructure. We would also have to explore whether we would just cross the river and look at an alternative. So those are options that we just need to understand. But obviously first choice, and I think best choice for the customers, would be a solid discussion between both entities about a common utility provider, since they're really already receiving town water now. I think you all sell to third party.
And my understanding, correct me if I'm incorrect on this, but my understanding is that your side of this has absolutely nothing to do with the water.
No.
And so in order for us to, if we decided as a group to consider this, that would have to be a completely separate negotiation with a completely different group of people.
I would think that the town would take advantage of the town attorney's experience, look at that contract, the obligations thereof when it's renewed, seek opportunity. I think that there is a potential path also to talk directly with the customers that are impacted. That has happened before where the health department can become involved for the betterment of customers. So there's a number of avenues. I'm just uncertain of the existing contract, and we defer to legal counsel on that.
It's more if you have any sort of general idea, if that's something that, if y'all discuss with Petrus or have any interactions with Petrus other than sort of arm's length. I know you don't want to speak for them, but our contract with them, quite frankly, is about the same age and status of the contract that we have with you guys. So we're at the point where I think town wants to sort of modernize, bring everything up to date, and would like to do everything at the same time if possible. So that's sort of where that stands.
I can speak that we have acquired a number of Petra systems. I think, I'm uncertain of their long-term business model, but they have been divesting themselves of systems to a large extent in Franklin County. We've taken over most of those systems. So that at least indicates to me that there may be an interest. And particularly in this case, to me, it's one of the customer service issues. I understand that they've, and we've kind of seen the impacts on the bills. There's been water breaks that maybe have not been fixed as quickly as we would typically do or the town. And so that tells me that there may be some challenges if we talk further with them just about mobilization and come out and do timely repairs. And so that, I think there's at least an avenue or opportunity to have that discussion. And again, I think from the customer standpoint, we would obviously want to engage them, but we do feel like it's pretty clear if I put myself in the customer's position to receive one bill, have one entity with the proximity of the town office for bills and service, they're part of the community, so we feel that piece probably makes a lot more sense from the customer standpoint.
And I know you know this, but I'm glad a little bit on what you said about water breaks and time of repair. The way things are monitored and billed right now, that directly affects you.
It does.
Because you're paying your sewer bill based on the water that goes through our meter going to those customers.
Correct.
And when there is a major water leak and it is not repaired in a timely manner, it is reflected in your bill as well as in their bill.
That's correct. And that's a little different for us. Is again, we would typically negotiate a wholesale sewer contract with a jurisdiction. We have contracts with Salem, Town of Benton, a number of entities. And so typically what we do is actually meter the sewer and then pay a direct payment for the sewer that's utilized. So this was a little different agreement to us in that it utilized the water sales.
And while you're on that point, the other option that we had discussed was putting a meter on the line and just billing just sort of a bulk rate.
Right.
Could you just maybe briefly talk about that process and y'all's willingness to, I think one of the issues is the town, I don't want to overstep my boundaries, but it seems like the town might be a little bit hesitant to sort of accept an unknown, and the fact that there's not a meter there, frankly, I don't think anyone knows just exactly how much we're talking about. So is that something y'all would be willing to maybe for 3 months, couple months, put a meter on just so we know what's coming through?
Absolutely. What we do on our lift stations, and this lift station just has a simple control panel. It's not a specialized panel, but we look at on and off of the pumps, and then we conduct a drawdown test because we want to make sure that the equipment's working properly. So we have a known elevation in that station, pull it down just to double check operation. We monitor pump runtime, so we have a pretty good idea on a daily basis, but we'd be more than happy to look at installation of the meter. We do a permanent installation because there is advantage to that. We've got no issue if we did a permanent meter because that helps. I'm sure the town's dealt with inflow and infiltration, and just having a permanent meter location lets you see if an area is developing a problem, understanding that in turn you're a bulk customer to another wastewater plant.
Any other questions here?
I think that's
Brad, do you have anything?
No.
Come on.
Yes, sir. I understand what you said, that if the town doesn't go the route that you are hoping that we go, that you all will look at just going down, putting in lines and going across and going straight to the...
That's one option. We would be happy to work through a bulk agreement with the town.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm kind of sharing first choice where we think the customers would be better served. Second choice is to arrive at a good wholesale deal that works for both parties. But third option, if there were questions of sewer capacity or anything that we were unaware of on infrastructure investments, We do have the internal capacity. We have construction crews, boring equipment, and so we're able to investigate whether we self-complete a project and mobilize a construction crew and not discharge through the town sewer system.
Do you know by any chance how old those lines are running through that?
Yeah, the PVC is my understanding for the earlier survey work, so that says to me that's likely 70s or 80s. I know that's the period where there was a lot of rural grants that were being awarded to Botetourt. We're also a contract provider for the town of Fincastle. So Fincastle owns assets, we just run their utilities for them. So we see a similar thing in Fincastle where it's my understanding it was sometime in the mid-70s. So I think that's my best guess, just with the material and condition of the system. I think that it's probably 70s. The good news is PVC. PVC is a material we're still installing. We, as an industry, we made some bad choices in years past, but PVC and the plastic pipes are the materials that are currently used.
And my last question.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned several times the benefits of the convenience for the residents in this locale. Can you flip that to the other side and say what would the benefits be for the town?
Sure. Being in the utility business, and electric utilities have gone through similar things. We're facing the need to do infrastructure investment. I think the town's answering those same questions now, just from having an opportunity to speak to the mayor earlier. That is resolved through having an adequate customer base to be able to distribute the costs so that no group of individuals is bearing a higher proportion of that burden. So the larger the customer base that the town has, the lower the overall rates are to everybody else. So anytime you have an opportunity to bring in customers, that's really been the story of the authority of why Franklin County, Botetourt County, why we keep seeing growth in the authority is because it's gotten so expensive to provide utility service with all the legal requirements that are applied that everybody's facing the same thing, that you need a larger customer base to better distribute those costs. The smaller the customer base, obviously the larger each bill has to go up. So I think this is an opportunity for the town, if you look at it in terms of developable land. There's obviously some still open space in that area. I understand that doesn't have tax implications because the difference in localities. However, that's still a potential utility customer. And so a potential utility customer is just another viable parcel of land that's paying into the overall maintenance and upkeep of the system.
Thank you.
Sure.
Richard? No. Any questions from the floor? Thank you for coming. And
Thank you all for having me.
we appreciate you coming, sharing that information with us. And I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Okay, and I'll leave these with you so that you'll have some visual information. Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good evening.